There's your.
Hi, and thank you for joining today's IAE Industry Day event. This is the 7th Industry Day that we have put on since 2013. And today our program is going to focus on the IAE acquisition strategy. So we welcome you again for joining us. We look forward to having an open dialogue with you today. You'll have the opportunity to post questions throughout this presentation. This will be a little bit different than previous industry days. We're not going to be responding to questions at the end of the program, but we will capture all of your Q&A, and we will respond to them as we are able to on Interact in the coming days. The file that we'll be using and you'll be looking at today can be downloaded up in your Files box by clicking Download File. You can do that at any time during this presentation. We will also post the file also on Interact in the coming days at the conclusion of this program. And as always, I think most of you know that if you have any questions or have any other comments or reasons that you need to reach us, you can always get us at iaeoutreach@gsa.gov. Please feel free to email us there anytime. So today, you all probably know me from my emails and my invites. I'm Ken Goldman. I'm the Senior Communications Lead here at IAE. I'm going to be doing this very brief introduction. I'm going to be turning it over to my colleague Nancy Good, who's the Director of Business Operations at IAE, and she's going to walk you through the majority of the program. The program today, again, will be this welcome and an overview of IAE. We're then going to discuss the acquisition status and approach. We'll talk specifically about WDOL overview, and then we'll give you information on how to participate. Again, I think most of the people on this call have probably seen a lot of this material many times, and it's on our website on gsa.gov as well. But our mission at IAE really is to support a common secure business environment that facilitates and supports cost-effective acquisition of and payment for goods and services. Also, effective management of federal acquisition and assistance awards, and consistent transparency into federal acquisition and assistance awards as well. Our vision, you can pretty much read through it, but essentially we're trying to continue to evolve and integrate the existing 10 systems within IAE into one comprehensive environment. Our values have remained consistent for the past couple of years. We seek to drive continuous innovation and improvement. We always want to serve as active and engaged stewards of federal award data. We want to enable collaboration across the federal government. We want to protect the quality and integrity of the data that we have. And we want to embrace openness and transparency always. I think most everyone has seen this chart before. This is the IAE of today and how it exists with our different 10 different systems. And then our goal to get it to the future IAE environment that is coming down the pike. Our IAE architectural principles, again, I don't think this is new information either, but the highlights here, we always want to be open. We always want to treat data as an asset. We always want to treat security as foundational. And we're really interested in building value over maintaining the status quo. These principles are a technical response to the business drivers that affect the IAE program and all of the stakeholders that we serve. So at this point, again, I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Good. She's going to talk to you about the acquisition status and approach. So please go ahead, Nancy.
Thanks, Ken. I am happy to join you today to bring some insight into the status of IAE acquisitions. Numerous contracts will support IAE operations in the 3 core API environment. Our movement away from end-to-end system-based contracts to contracts focused on providing specific support of the operating environment will require a move away from our current acquisition strategy, focusing on responsibilities, not end-to-end system ownership. Our subject today will be on the procurement of core services and that relationship with the other contractors within IAE. The core contractors will be responsible for code design, development, testing, operations and maintenance of all applications in the future operating environment. This change in project management and acquisition strategy will require that the selected core contractors work in close collaboration and coordination with all other contractors within the IAE environment, including the IAE Common Services Contractor, the IAE Technical Governance Contractor, other core developers, the DevOps and IV&V Contractor, and the Federal Service Desk Contractor. As you can see from the slide, IAE has recently completed several procurements in support of the Common Services Platform, including operation of the platform and technical governance for the platform. The DevOps and IV&V task order request for deploying code into the platform has closed, but award of the task order is still pending. So what do we mean by core services capabilities? In general, IAE functionality will need to be rebuilt or moved to the Common Services Platform. The IAE program has established frameworks and standards to facilitate the development of the integrated architecture and will continue to develop, enhance, and refine those standards and practices. Guiding principles for core services include alignment with Agile principles and practices, transparency of data and code, collaboration with IAE partners that drives innovation and creative solutions, security built in all levels of design and implementation, a user-centric approach which engages and incorporates users into the development process, efficiency and productivity through utilization of common functions and data, and development processes and techniques that optimize the quality of the code. Core contractors will be responsible for the design and implementation of certain common applications developed in the IAE Common Services Platform, using key components provided by the Common Services Platform, including hosting and infrastructure, API management, data storage, a data lake, reporting and visualization, identity and access management, and common components. Common components include shared components across IAE, such as a common IAE landing page, federal hierarchy, dashboards, and a developer marketplace. The balance of our presentation today will be spent giving you a high-level overview of core services, including our general approach for procuring core services. We want to remind you that you should rely solely on each individual task order request, not this presentation, when considering or submitting a proposal. Today's presentation is not inclusive of all requirements, so a complete understanding of the requirements should only come from the task order request. Any specific questions about submitting an offer for core services will need to be directed to the contracting officer at the time of the procurement. Over the course of the next few years, IAE will be seeking core services contractors. The procurements will be organized to ensure competition, but also to encourage efficient operations and management of the task orders. For example, IAE may choose to award task orders for common services around the three core environments that you heard about earlier, or some other logical approach. IAE will not necessarily issue an individual task order for each existing system. Over time, IAE will better understand the acquisition needs of the Common Services Platform and will adjust to produce the best possible structure for procurements. To minimize risk and ensure that we have the best possible procurement strategy going forward, IAE has elected to focus the initial task order on a single system, WDOL. IAE plans to seek proposals from 8A STARS contract holders for the initial task order for core services. By using 8A STARS, IAE will leverage existing GSA government vehicles to streamline the procurement process and support small business participation. Under this task order, IAE will be procuring services for the development of the Wage Determination Online, otherwise known as WDOL, which provides Service Contract Act and Davis-Bacon Act wage determinations for federal contracts. The development work will eventually replace the existing WDOL.gov application, which will be retired. This is the first of many task orders which will be awarded for the development work from core services contractors. IAE expects to issue the task order request in May. The exact date is not yet available. The task order will include 1 base period and 4 award term options. GSA's goal is to use award term options to ensure continuous high performance of contractors. Award term options require that the contractor achieve a minimum performance level to be eligible for award of the options. The contracting officer's rep, in conjunction with the contracting officer, will make a unilateral decision regarding the ratings for exercising of the options. So what is WDOL? WDOL provides a single location to obtain Service Contract Act and Davis-Bacon Act wage determinations as required by the FAR. The application will enable users of varying levels of knowledge and experience to obtain the appropriate wage determination. The primary function of WDOL is searching. The current website is available to the general public and can be accessed at WDOL.gov. System admins are able to upload weekly files and download documents in addition to performing various maintenance operations on the system. A system user guide and help function explains the various system functions and links to relevant FAR policy and Department of Labor information. IAE receives bi-weekly files from the Department of Labor which are ingested and displayed on WDOL. These files will be available to the core contractor from the IAE data lake through an API. The primary users of the site include contracting officers, government contractors, agency labor officials, and union officials. This slide outlines some of the tasks which will be the responsibility of a core contractor. During the balance of this presentation, we will drill down for some of the tasks. The IAE future state will be characterized by the use of Agile Development, applying DevOps concepts, collaborative development, and continuous integrations of the IAE systems. The specific vision for IAE data management and governance is to provide the right data at the right time to the right customers using the right technologies in an environment of transparency. The core services development team will need to work with the IAE Agile Release Train Engineer to align development activities with the value streams that IAE intends to implement in any given release. They will coordinate and conform to the IAE architecture in their design and implementation, which includes standards for language development, data management, and other aspects which impact not only the product being delivered, but how that product is built. They will also use the continuous integration process and tools provided by IAE and deliver the code as it is developed to IAE via the IAE code repository. Collaborative planning will further define the specifics at a release-by-release and sprint-by-sprint level. The developers will work with an IAE cross-functional team in release planning to define and clarify the feature-level requirements prior to the beginning of a release. Each 2-week sprint will be preceded by a similar planning cycle to groom the user stories to be executed in that sprint. If necessary, the beginning of a release will necessitate the creation of the appropriate developer and testing environments, as well as any updates to the application architecture that would support the near production and production environments. The IAE Common Services Platform Marketplace is the primary tool by which this is done, but enterprise architecture diagrams may also be required. The Marketplace will have a specific set of configured Docker containers that can be used to develop IAE applications. The developers will not have command line access to those containers, but only infrastructure as code access. The core contractor use Git and GitHub appropriately to manage their code versions. IAE uses Git flow, which means that branching is used to execute certain workflows. At the final sprint of a release, testing with users will be conducted as well as an IV&V of the product. The deployment into production is not done by the core vendor, but by the DevOps team through Git flow after final government approval. However, the core vendor is responsible for ensuring that the production architecture can support the application and for operating the application after its deployment. The core contractor will design, develop, and test all code internally and move it to the DevOps platform for further testing, integration, and deployment. The core contractor must ensure the system is configured and designed to support expansion for additional requirements, easy for adopting any change, and easily maintainable. The contractor must ensure that code developed produces an application that meets the IAE accessibility standards, as all applications must conform to current 508 standards, as well as the Level A and the Level AA success criteria and conformance requirements specified for web pages in the Web Content Accessibility Guide version 2.0. IAE sees this as part of the sprint-level definition of done. Applications for IAE will be API first. That ensures that all application transactions are routed through the API calls and follow the API framework and guidelines. The API requirement will be both read and write APIs, and the entire set of business capabilities provided by the site will be made available via the APIs. This diagram shows the relationship between the various players in the application development and technical operations team. The purple boxes identify how core development teams deliver and interact with other IAE teams. IAE will use an Agile framework that is a modified version of the SAFe Agile framework that accommodates the program's governance requirements. The model allows vendors to use their own Project Agile methodologies, but does require coordination with the IAE release-trained engineer to ensure program-wide alignment. The Common Services Platform is an entire environment which provides identity access management, application program interface management, hosting, data store, and reporting services. Common Services will establish visualization and customer relationship management layers of business intelligence on top of a data warehouse. All software developed will be available as open source on GitHub. IAE provided an overview of the architecture during the IAE Industrial Day held on March 26th, and this webinar is available online through the IAE Interact site. It is the government's intent to post the detailed IAE architecture on GitHub shortly. As part of IAE's goal of delivering quality products, automated tests will be created by the core vendor within each sprint and validated by the IAE DevOps/IV&V team. These tests will become part of the code repository to be run by tools such as Jenkins and Selenium as code is checked in. Every sprint will end with a validation that the acceptance criteria is met and that the sprint-level definitions of done have been satisfied. This evaluation will assure IAE that the sprint produced a potentially shippable increment. As you would expect, security is fundamental for IAE systems. The contract shall be subject to all GSA and federal IT security standards, policies, and reporting requirements. The contractor shall meet and comply with all GSA IT security policies and all applicable GSA and NIST standards and guidelines, and other GSA-wide laws and regulations for IT security. As security standards change, the contractor is expected to meet and comply with those new requirements within 60 days of issuance. Contractors are also required to comply with FIPS guidelines published by NIST and the requirements of FISMA. All systems undergoing a major or significant change will require security control assessment of the impacted controls and any new controls using the current version of the GSA assessment test cases, and reauthorization in accordance with the security authorization process in GSA IT Security Procedural Guide. It should be noted that the ATO for WDOL will be performed as part of the overall Common Services Platform ATO and security control assessments. The information in WDOL is generally available to the public, and WDOL does not contain any PII information. Under the terms of the task order, operations and maintenance includes responsibilities such as responding to data requests, monitoring system performance, ongoing system changes, maintaining interoperability with other systems, security testing, updates to training materials and user guides, and code maintenance. With each software enhancement to the system, all applicable documentation will be developed, updated, and maintained. The FSD provides users prompt access to qualified, knowledgeable IT help desk support during business hours and resolves technical and functional questions and problems. The FSD provides a centralized support center for IAE applications using telephone, email, and live chat. All help desk calls initially go to the FSD as the Tier 1 help desk provider. If the problem cannot be resolved by Tier 1 because more expertise is required for the resolution, then the problem will be escalated to the Tier 2 help desk provider for resolution. The core contractor is required to accept and respond to Tier 2 requests that cannot be resolved by the FSD. Tier 2 will resolve help desk issues and requests escalated from Tier 1 and report back issue resolution and ticket status to the FSD tracking system. All help desk tickets that do not require a software fix must be resolved within 2 calendar days of receipt. Tier 3 issues are escalated to IAE for resolution as they generally deal with broader system questions and policy-related matters. The dates above coincide with the quarter release cycles for the Common Services Platform. This proposed schedule is subject to change once the task order is awarded. There may be variations on the exact time frames depending on the outcome of the planning process with the core contractor. IAE conducted focus groups with WDOL users in April, which included agency contracting officers, agency labor officials, federal contractors, and union officials. The focus groups brought the user and stakeholder community into the development process and ensures that the voice of the customer is heard. The IAE product owners have been working for several months on developing the requirements backlog. Once the task order is awarded, the product owner will assimilate the contractor into the Common Services Platform and perform release planning and sprint planning with the build team. IAE has been busy during the past several months developing the acquisition package, and the contracting office expects to issue a task order request sometime in May. Once it occurs, the issuance date of the task order request will be shared on the IAE Interact portal. The build is expected to take 2 months, beginning in August. For those of you interested in participating, please visit the 8A Stars webpage to find a list of the current 8A Stars to contractors. As WDOL is the first of several IAE task order requests, please follow us on Interact to stay on top of the latest IAE news. So, as always, please stay tuned for any information by checking Interact for the latest and greatest. And if you have any comments or would like to reach out to us, please feel free to contact us anytime at ieoutrage@gsa.gov. Thanks for your attention today, and I hope you learned something interesting. Looking forward to Industry Day 8. Thank you.